In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you're going to gain more distance with less power. Because when I'm giving lessons down here at Trafford Golf Centre, one of the things that, well, it doesn't surprise me, but I get surprised by students so many times, is that when we're doing this certain drill, and we're talking with irons here, the comment is, oh my God, for a chip shot, that's nearly gone as far as my normal golf swing. So how does that happen? Today's lesson, we're going to figure it all out. So if you look at the best players in the world, when they're hitting their irons, they're doing a couple of things to make sure they achieve those amazing distances that they do. Number one, the loft of the golf club. When us, as Joe Bloggs, is hitting an iron, we're probably not delivering the correct loft with the iron. What I tend to see from a lot of amateurs is actually that the 7 iron that we got, we actually turn it almost into an 8 or a 9 iron, because as it comes in, we get the shaft leaning backwards away from the target, which adds loft onto the golf club. Secondly, how they're actually using their bodies to hit the golf ball instead of just throwing the hands and arms at full speed, trying to do it all there. They're not generating and using the correct forces to actually get the strike that we want. And then thirdly, I don't think I've ever watched a professional on television, maybe now and again if they're off balance, but I've never seen a professional falling over after a shot. They always look really in control, look like they could hold the finish for days, and look like they've got the most out of their golf swing and they're in control of themselves. So today, I'm going to show you those 3 things and how you're actually going to achieve them. We're going to try and get a little less loft on there, we're going to use our body correctly, and then we're going to try and actually turn and hold to see that you're going to be hitting your irons further with less effort. Let's get stuck into it. So what would normally happen with a 7 iron? Let's call it that it would go, you're expecting it to go 150. And as we come through, we would see that we make a golf shot, and it can actually be a pretty good strike there, but it's fallen short now. It's only gone 130 for myself, and it went tremendously high, and that's because of those 3 points that I've just talked about, mainly because of this one. We're not applying the golf club in the manner that we want. So firstly, if we have a look to any golfer on tour, Tiger Woods, Jim Furyk, Michelle Wie, whoever they are, we could go back through the decades. One thing that we'll always see from those players is that as they're coming down and getting the club to the point where the shaft is parallel for the last time before impact, we'll see a difference from the amateur to the pro. We see that from the amateur, we're going to see this where the face now is starting to look like it's laying back here a little bit. So almost I would class it as grooves looking up to the sky. As where with the pro, we would see the opposite. We'd start to see that the grooves now are looking more down towards the floor here. Not up to the sky, down towards the floor. So then as they start to actually use their bodies and unload this club into the golf ball in this manner, we would see that we achieve what we want. Less loft on the iron, the shaft leaning towards the target, and now the pressure is working towards their front foot. The amateur, if I've got it grooves up to the sky, what I have to try and do to make sure that I make a decent contact is actually get my pressure going back towards my back foot, lean back a little bit here, and we see the opposite now, the shaft leaning away from the target, loads of loft looking up to the sky, and that isn't going to get that compression, and that isn't going to get that distance. So what I want you to do, and one of the more common things as well when we see this as well, just as a side note, would be that as we're starting to lean back, we would see people glancing across the golf ball in this manner, really slicing across it, as opposed to actually getting the club right into the back of the golf ball and unloading all the pressure into it. It's a real easy drill for you. If you're down at the driving range, empty bucket, you're going to place it about a foot away from your golf ball there, and then a foot in front for the middle of the bucket. This is just a deterrent for myself now to see that I don't want to start swinging this way, because if I do, I'm most likely going to clip that, and obviously if you are doing this, make sure the basket isn't going to damage your golf club when you do it. But that's just more of a visual cue for myself. That's going to allow myself to start just getting a little bit more from the inside here as opposed to getting across the golf ball so much. But then the main thing that we need to do, like I say, is all about that club face and getting a little bit of loft off it. So what I would like you to do, and this is why, you know, I say with less effort you're going to hit it further, because when you're doing this drill, I want you to make half swings to start out with, because your brain at the moment, as you make a golf swing, is really conditioned into getting into this position here. Face lying back, swiping across it, and getting loads of cupped in this lead wrist. I want you, without a golf ball, just to start out with, you're going to take a good grip. Make sure it's not too weak, not too strong. From there then, we're going to make some half swings, and what I want us to do is come down and stop. And the big aim for us here, and if you've got a mirror behind you, that would be absolutely fantastic. The big aim for us now is to see that the club head, we're trying to get these grooves pointing at the floor. So I'd be up and down and just stopping here, go through it maybe for a couple of minutes and just get used to what that feels like, because the big change will come from your lead wrist. You'll feel it starting to bow as opposed to it to starting to cup from there. So once you get used to that then, I want you to have a few of those, but then once you get into this position then, I want you to imagine now as you're doing this, that as you're doing that grooves down to the floor, you start to feel that you're pushing your front foot even harder into the ground as you're doing it. Instead of getting used to pushing your back foot down and getting the grooves up, we're going to get the face down and that front foot down. From there then, we're going to just start making some small swings, and the real sort of secret sauce I would give my lessons would be that I want you to imagine each time you've been in the trees, when you get into the trees and you've got to punch it back out to the fairway, your aim is to try and keep the golf ball low. You wouldn't stand there and think, do you know what, I'm going to hit it up through the trees because that'll be a great way to get it back out on the fairway. We try and almost hit a bit of a punch shot to keep it low, and what that does then gives us the vision in our mind to get this happening. A little bit of shaft lean, a little bit of loft off it, and making sure that the middle of my body is now covering the golf ball a little bit more. What I wouldn't be doing is hanging back, grooves up to the roof, middle of the body behind it, and scooping it up into those trees. So you'd have a few practice swings, like I say, of getting the face down, body over it, imagine you punch, and start to hit some little ones. And even with little swings like this, as I make it now, it sounds a lot different, the flight's a lot different, and the carry distance there is pretty much the same, just carried out towards the 130 sign that we've got here. So a couple of those practice swings, face down, feel me pushing into that front foot, and a little chip out of the trees is going to see nice little swings like so, really starting to get that compression and actually hearing, and it'll feel a lot different to yourself as well. Once you're then confident with it, remove the basket and you're going to build it up into some full swings. But what I want you to do is just really focus on that face down and the pushing of the front foot. If we can try and feel that we're getting a bit more here as opposed to here, you're going to start to really make better contact, better compression on the golf ball, and see that you're getting the launch. So then even when I now feel that I would hit one sort of 3/4 with that swing, that is ripped. It's gone about 20 yards further than the shot from the start of the video, and you'll see on the shot tracer as well how different the flight height is on them, and that's all because of how I'm applying the golf club onto the golf ball. So you don't need to put loads of speed in, but if you just apply it a little bit better, we're going to see that you're going to get more distance. So start out small, get those feelings, chip some off. You'll be surprised how far they start to go, and then build it up once you get into there. If we can get away from leaning that club back away from the target, feeling like we're adding loads of loft, and now we feel like we're getting our punch shot and we're taking loft off, that is going to help you compress your irons better. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson this week. If you have, do hit that subscribe button down there for me. I want you to get better, and you're going to do it by joining me for your free lessons here on the channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.